The implications of working without an office. In early 2020, the world began what is undoubtedly the largest work-from-home experiment in history. COVID-19 remains a major threat. Organizations are wrestling with whether and how to have workers return to their offices, and what impact working from home had on productivity and creativity. How employees have fared since they began working virtually. Researchers say that workers adjusted to working virtually more quickly than the leaders had feared they would. In many cases, workers felt that they were just as productive as before. The fact that many employees believe they have successfully navigated this big of a shift during the pandemic with no productivity loss is remarkable. Of course, the abrupt switch to remote work wasn't without growing pains. Job satisfaction and engagement fell sharply after 2 weeks of working virtually. But they recovered sharply by the end of the second month. Organizations finding the right balance between meeting and work time. They have been having virtual meetings and having them more frequently than usual to generate a feeling of company and unity. The workday significantly increased at the beginning of all virtual work. In the weeks immediately after the lockdown began, only half of the employees were able to maintain a 10-hour workday or less, whereas nearly 80% had been able to do so previously. Since all virtual work began, employee stress, negative emotions, and task-related conflict have all been steadily falling. Each is down at least 10%. At the same time, employees have experienced an approximately 10% improvement in self-efficacy and their capacity to pay attention to their work. Everyone had experienced more focused time, shorter meetings, and more flexible time with family and, most commonly, were not missing the daily commute. Household circumstances mattered too. Over time, those with spouses seemed to be able to better manage stress stemming from working virtually, perhaps because they had someone with whom they could split household responsibilities. Those with children, however, who often also had added childcare and educational responsibilities as schools and daycares closed, fared worse. Why, then, not stay virtual? One key reason to think twice before going down that path is the loss of unplanned interactions that lead to important outcomes. Physical offices cause people who don't normally work with each other to connect accidentally and bumping into each other in the hallway or the cafeteria, and that interaction sparks new ideas. Steve Jobs thought such serendipity was so important that he specifically designed the building for Pixar Animation Studios, in Emeryville, California, to maximize such interactions. The amount of digital interaction at a different technology company, we found that, after the lockdown, employees increased their communication with close collaborators by 40%. The decline in such unstructured communications and trust can have a big negative impact on innovation and collaboration. Virtual work can undermine 3 other activities that are critical to long-term organizational health. 1. Onboarding new employees. Great onboarding involves 2 sets of activities. A. Exposing new employees to how things are done around here by indoctrinating them into the company's vision, history, processes, and culture. This set of activities seems to have been replicated relatively easily in virtual contexts. In place of having new hires sit in a room together to hear a senior leader speak or watch a video, B. Allowing them to apply their signature strengths and express their genuine selves. This is much harder to achieve virtually since the activities typically require numerous in-depth interactions and existing employees are accustomed to having those in person. 2. Creating weak ties. This refers to low or peripheral relationships among members of an organization who don't work closely with each other but have nonetheless connected over time. Weak ties have been shown to play an important role in organizational performance, including innovation, raising or maintaining product and service quality, and attaining project milestones. 3. Fostering relationships. Virtual work makes it difficult, if not impossible, for leaders to observe and foster the creation of relationships among their pools of talent. Everyone working from home, companies are finding more limited value in rotational programs, cohort-based training programs, or even cross-functional staffing assignments. Work after the pandemic. A majority of workers would like to spend some time in the office once things return to what they were. No masks, open meeting rooms and pantries, people close enough to each other to talk without yelling, group gatherings, and serendipitous encounters. Many organizations' plan has been taken steps to prepare for that day in 4 ways. First, they are conceptualizing office space as an add-on to virtual work, as opposed to the default for where people work. This is permitting them to refocus on the purpose of physical spaces, on what they uniquely offer, the ability to create weak ties and serendipitous conversations. Second, leaders have to increase investments in communication to provide more clarity for employees, removing the ambiguity that can cause people to spin their wheels. Third, they are recognizing that proportions and fairness matter. A decade ago, 2 employees in one office and 2 in another reported better scores on coordination and identification within the team. But if some team members were collocated and others were not, as would likely be true in hybrid environments, team dynamics suffered, which presumably hurt performance. Fourth, they are helping employees build both work from home and work from office muscles and share the realities, the advantages and disadvantages of each. Even in organizations in which employees are already being invited back to the office full-time, some are still being asked to continue working virtually at least some of the time too. The pandemic has proved how true the adage "necessity is the mother of invention" is. The reality is that people have been working quite successfully from home.